Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Tina from Tinaheals.com, and this video is about Mars. Fiery red Mars, which is our action principle, and the placement of Mars in Taurus. If you have Mars in Taurus, then welcome, this is your video. Before I begin, let me tell you by saying that Mars in Taurus is not traditionally a very powerful placement, because this is Mars in detriment. Mars rules Scorpio in traditional astrology. So any sign a particular planet rules, in the opposite sign, it loses its power. So we see that Mars here is being sort of debilitated. Okay, not as powerful as he wants to be, because he is in the sign of Venus. And Venus is his archetypal opposition. So Venus connects, Mars separates. If Venus binds, Mars cuts. Venus is a moderate planet. She is moderately moist and moderately hot. So with the thing about benefics is that they work with moderation. But if you look at malefics like the greater malefic Saturn or the lesser malefic Mars, you see that they appear to work through excesses. So Saturn is excessively cold while Mars is excessively hot. Okay, and if Mars is excessively hot, say Mars in Aries, then you can have pitta imbalance, which is diseases that relate to excessive heat, right? Mars is the fifth Sephiroth in the Kabbalistic system and is known as Gevura. And the Pythagoreans also considered the number 5 to be diabolical. They called it nemesis. So in a sense, Mars operating through the earthy fixed sign of Taurus, it becomes a sort of nemesis to the Venusian principles that Taurus embodies. Taurus is about the beautification and harmony in all forms. Taurus is fixed earth, and earth and fire don't go well together. Okay, although yes, you do need fire for creation, but fire creates by separation. When you burn something, ultimately its essential components are separated, and that is how Mars works, by cutting, by separating. And when you look at the Martian principles and you try to look at how they would play out in Taurus, you have to see them through the spectrum of Venus. Okay, and Venus is the unification principle. It is Venus is what seduces us into incarnation. It is what is pleasant, what is beautiful in life, what is harmonious, and Mars is the very antithesis. Mars teaches us by aggression. It's not that Venus cannot be aggressive. Venus can be aggressive, placed in a fiery sign or a very assertive sign like cardinal Capricorn, Earth. But Venus is not about war. So if you're looking at power, Mars is about power, but Venus can also be about power. So when Mars sits in Venus-ruled Taurus, he has to think about power from a more inclusive understanding. Mars excludes, Venus includes, So in Taurus, Mars has to be more inclusive. Oftentimes, Mars and Taurus people are actually loners. Now, of course, you have some diabolical stars in Taurus. When you have Mars in Taurus, it could be conjunct, say, Algol. But then again, that is, of course, not something to talk about in this video. But Mars in Taurus can be quite interesting, because here you have a very good understanding of the earth and all things physical, because that is Taurus, agriculture. Mars is fiery, it wants to go ahead, it wants to create, it wants to pioneer. And in Taurus, which is a sign of its detriment, it is unable to do so in the very forceful Martian context. Mars rules knives, Taurus rules vegetation. So Mars and Taurus could be someone who really knows how to slice and dice vegetables and put a big show and create a cooking show and get a ton of hits, especially if Taurus is your midheaven. Possibilities with Mars and Taurus are immense, because Taurus also deals with banking. So here Mars can become, as I said, the nemesis, okay, the nemesis of other people. Like a bull or a bear stockbroker could have Mars and Taurus, where he is really a pioneer. More so the bull, I think the bear is more conservative. Although Taurus is a sign that is conservative, okay, because this is a fixed earth sign, nocturnal. Mars is also nocturnal, and if you have Mars and Taurus in a night sign, in a night chart, that is, your sun is at the bottom of your chart somewhere, then you have a better expression of Mars, because Mars does not do well in day charts. So that is something to think about. Whether you have a night chart, do you have a day chart? Mars rules Aries, Scorpio. So in Taurus and in Libra, he cannot express himself. And you see, he's in detriment too of the Venusian signs, in two of the Venusian signs. So the male and the female are forever in polarity. And Venus is the womb, okay? And Mars is the phallus. When we look at Mars, we have to understand that why is he represented by the phallic symbols all over. It's because Mars is sort of like a tool of the sun that seeds the 3D reality, that seeds the 3D world with all those dreams of the gods, what Ein Sof or Paramatmana, Parabrahm thinks about. Mars seeds us. That is why he is the phallic symbol, because he's seeding us with his ideas. And Taurus is interested about a wide variety of things, really: makeup, beauty, skincare, food, banking, finances. Venus also rules theater and ceremonial things, ceremonies. So Mars and Taurus could also be interested in rituals and ceremonies. Now when we look at Venus is always unifying. So Mars and Taurus, in a way, of course, he's the archetype of the builder, but he wants to unify. He's not as separatist as Mars and Aries, or Mars and Scorpio, or Mars and Gemini. Okay, and this is fixed energy. So this Mars gets endurance here. He gets the staying power that I'm sorry, Mars and Aries may be a rulership, but Mars is not so focused in Aries. He can't develop that focus in a fixed sign. Okay, because he also rules the water triplicity. So the water signs are in harmony with Taurus, because this is earth and water work well together. So this is also something to think about, okay? Now, when we look at Mars, we look at estrangement. So Mars and Taurus could also bring about, of course, estrangement from money, security, stability. Mars is a malefic because he does not tend towards moderation. He goes towards excesses. So either with Mars and Taurus, you're getting that sustenance to provide for yourself. Yes, you want to be the bread keeper. You want to be the bread earner, not bread keeper, bread earner with Mars in Taurus. Okay, you're very, very artistic, because Taurus brings about an appreciation of the harmony of nature. So Mars here is ready to see it, and Mars rules the eyes. He's very, very centric towards what he sees, and in Mars and Taurus sees the beauty of things, okay? That is so precious. But Mars hurts. So in a fixed sign like Taurus, Mars can cut and burn, and it can be quite traumatic, okay? Especially because it is in detriment. And believe me, it is not a way to label planets or anything, but it is a very comprehensive way to understand how a particular energy can play out, okay? Now, when we look at Mars in contrast to Venus, we've got to understand Mars is now playing the role of Venus in Taurus, okay? Channeling her vibes, because he's in her home. Okay, of course, we've gone to the modality, which is fixed, and we understand this is nocturnal earth, the womb energy. So here, pregnancy could be a very, huge thing. You could get pregnant multiple times, especially if you have a Jupiter there somewhere. If you have a Venus Mars conjunction there, you could get pregnant many times and lose the baby many times also. Taurus is the womb. So any planet, especially personal planets and malefics in Taurus, has to do with your womb energy also. Okay. uh of course, you know the basics, like Mars color is red, the day is Tuesday, the first and the eighth hour of the day belong to Mars. So invocation on a Tuesday always works when you're working with an afflicted or a debilitated Mars, especially like Mars in Taurus, Mars in Libra, or Mars in Cancer, because Mars is exalted in Capricorn again. We see that, and Capricorn is harmonious to Taurus by trine. Okay. And Mars is on the 28th degree. He is king, you know, he is king, and he's in fall in the 28th degree of Cancer. So these polarities help explicate the matter further, because we really get a look at how Mars, the nemesis, will operate through the earthy fixed sign of Taurus. And Taurus is really not a very volatile kind of sign. I'm not saying they're not assertive. Yes, they are. And probably having Mars over there, you can be very assertive. Mars is fiery. So if you have extreme fire imbalance, or in a way you are feeding off this Mars and detriment, then you can have body odors, acne, you know, problems with your brain, head, migraines, chronic headaches. Mars rules volcanoes, you know, literally volcanoes in the head. And Taurus is, of course, the throat. So Mars in Taurus can exacerbate the throat and really give you complications with the throat and your throat chakra. So words, again, what you say, because Mars activates by fire, and fire separates. So activation is very powerful here by separation, and yet you have Venus as the ruler who wants to unify things. That's why it could be a very complicated energy if you look at all the layers. And I know many people don't think of Mars as a multi-layered planet, but all the planets are actually very multi-layered, right? Mars in Taurus can be very goal-oriented about what he or she wants to achieve, because Taurus is the builder. So, you know, here Mars brings his pioneering, trailblazing element, and he wants to build. He's not looking to spend it right now like Mars in Sagittarius, Mars in Gemini, but he's looking to build, and he has that staying power, that focus that I was speaking about, that ultimately he masters in Scorpio. But in Taurus, he has that power. And Mars also rules earthquakes and volcanoes, and Taurus is the earth. So, you know, there's a sense of these things happening when Mars goes into Taurus by transit. So if you have this in your natal chart, your childhood could be volcanic. And if you're a woman in your Mars and Taurus, you're attracted to someone who is stable and who brings, and who's probably the provider, because, you know, you just identify with that type of Mars. And if you're Mars in Taurus male, then you're probably just quiet, earthy, and you get noticed because you're a Venus Mars. And if you have Mars in the first house in Taurus with a Venus conjunction, then you could look younger than your age. That's very possible. If you have bad body odor or problems with your throat, or, you know, some Mars problems, then have roasted garlic on empty stomach first thing in the morning, and take about 1.5 liters of water to flush out any toxins, and don't eat till 1.5 hours post that. And believe me, you will work your way out of Mars imbalance. This is a very basic way. Mars is a higher Pluto is a higher octave of Mars, so there's that destructive component to Mars in Aries. Like I said, he's a malefic, and he does not tend towards moderation. Everything goes in excesses, right? Now, if you look at the anatomy and the illnesses, so Mars rules the gallbladder, the left ear, tertian fevers, you know, jaundice, plague sores, and all of that. So that can be exacerbated. Pitta imbalance in Ayurveda is Mars imbalance, basically, right? Now, if you're trying to approach the Mars energy in Taurus through ego, that, oh, I want this, I want a bell, I want a hoard, then you will never achieve the true radiance of Mars, because Mars is actually pure spiritual energy that we get from the sun, the impulse to do something. So approach Mars with that eye, and approach Mars with, you do not try to subdue or control Mars. because that is just going to make matters worse. You cannot subdue this raw primeval masculine power that is given to us. You cannot subdue it. So work with it and work towards integration. Okay, he's pure energy. Remember that. This is a Venus ruled Mars. You look, probably if it's on your first house, you look beautiful. You attract people because you have the dynamism of Mars as well as the soft sweetness. Mars is everything bitter and sour, and Venus is all things sweet. So you have a mixture of both this. Mars is sharp, Venus is rounded. So, you see the dichotomy and as well as the integration that is possible with this placement. Like, comment, share. Please let me know what you think. Thank you. Speak soon.